Rishus Rafi and Jess, Taylor, and all the family. Rishus Kol HaKodesh Hazeh. The intention initially, or the request from members of the Kehillah, members of our Kehillah, to address them on two of the three topics that we're going to B'siyata Dishmaya talk through tonight, had been that tonight we should get together in shul, in a place where we have gathered so many times together to daven, and to be mechazak in our emunah, and to be mechazak in our emunah in tefillah. And at the request of Rafi and Jess, particularly when we do what we can, l'ilui nishmasoi, and in turn that should bring a nechama and a nachas ruach to you, the mishpacha. And in the same way that every week when we get together at the end of Shabbos Kodesh, we try and be mechazak our emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and our bitochen in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and our avodas Hashem, and our achdus with one another, we'll try in the same vein. This is what, had I been here this week for Shabbos, we would have discussed together at Shalosh Udus, and try in that same vein, in that same way, to convey and share with you some thoughts and messages on these topics. I want to do the topics that we were asked to speak about are emunah, tefillah, and in addition I'd like to as well speak a little bit about chinuch. We are ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. That is what Klal Yisrael is called. That is what we are defined as. That is part of the fabric of Klal Yisrael. We have three main character traits. We're Rachmanim, we're Baishanim, we're Goyim Chasodim, and that's all because we possess the Chelek Elokam Imal Mamish, and we are B'nei Kel Choy. And we know and we believe that we live with the Hashkacha Pratis, which means that the Rebbeinu Shel Olam, the Borei Olam, who created the world, who created us, who's Mechadish, Mitubay, B'chol Yom, Tomid Maaseh V'Reishis, is guiding us at every single stage of our lives and at every single stage of every individual in Klal Yisrael particularly, and certainly Klal Yisrael at large. And having spent a little bit more time, and I hope you'll allow me to share what you have shared with those who have been in the room at the times that I've been here over these past few days, an understanding of Hashkafa Pratis in a little bit of the life of Orya, Olav HaSholem. You chose the name Orya Chaim. Chazal tell us, Rabbi Meir says, Shema Gorim, that the name of a person is very indicating and tells us so much about the personality, the character traits, the Shoresh HaNeshama, and the mission of that person in this world. Nevuah is given to parents. One of the remnants of Nevuah that was a Yerusha in Klal Yisrael is given and left for parents when they name a child. And the fact that you toyed over a name that would begin with the letters Aleph, Vav, Reish, the letters of Oyer, the letters of light, which, as we know, the Shechina is described as the Oyer HaOlam. And your question was whether to add an Aleph Lamed at the end or a Yud He at the end. And the choice that you chose should be a name of Orya, a name that creates a light of warmth, a light of Kirva to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is so truly seen in the way that Orya lived his life and the way that you brought his life into the life of Klal Yisrael around the globe. And we just need to look at the huge hashpah and impact that together you've all made, and that Be'ez Hashem you'll continue to make. That choice of name, Orya Chaim, The Oira of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very much alive, is vibrant, is shining, and is making an impact all around. The time of Ari's Petira on Shvi Shel Pesach, on Shabbos Kodesh, of every single Yid to want to be closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Perhaps the greatest time of tshuka that we've had this year, of a Yom Tov such as that of Shvi Shel Pesach, combined with Shabbos Kodesh, and at that time of the combined Neshama Yisera of Yom Tov and Shabbos, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infusion of Kedusha into the world, at a time of where Shabbos exits, where every Neshama yearns and desires to be closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in such a profound way. We're given then to understand that the Neshama Tahira, which has been on its mission in this world in such a pure and refined way, should want to be mistabik with its creator, with the greater light. Tzaddikim tell us on the pasuk that we mentioned on Monday, on Isru Chag, Yokar be'inei Hashem l'chasido. Really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would want that the Hasidim of this world, the pious and righteous and impactful members of Klal Yisrael, should remain in this world to continue making the impact that they so do. And therefore, Yokar be'inei Hashem. It's shver, it's difficult in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol. Hamavsal HaChasidov. So why then does he do it? Tzaddikim explained, and they explained it with a mashal. In the Mikrois Gedolos Chumash Rapninim, there's a pirush called the Chidushei Am Sheishei, and he brings there from Tzaddikim a mashal. He says there was a prince who went on a far-off journey to visit a land that he hadn't visited before. And he came across an old friend of his who told him that he'd guide him around and take him to see the sights of the city. And he took him and enthralled him. And after a couple of days, the minister says to him, most of my entourage has already left, and it's time for me to go too. And he turned to his friend, and he tells him that tomorrow will be the day of his departure. His friend says to him, if that's the case, then I need to show you things that I haven't shown you yet, things that will enthrall you even more than what I've shown you to date. He said, sure, go, take me to see them. And he spent the rest of the afternoon viewing these tremendous sights. And the minute the prince asks his old friend, why didn't you show me this at the beginning? This is so much more wonderful, so much greater. And he said, if I had shown you this at the beginning, everything else would have been insignificant. So the tzaddikim, the Rewatch sends heilige neshamas of Klal Yisrael to this world on a mission that they need to achieve. And every neshama has a particular mission to achieve in the Masechta of its life. In exactly the same way that we look on a shelf of a Shas, and we see the volumes of the Masechtas of Shas, and we see that every single one is an entire Masechta, at the end of which, not coincidentally, we say the same Kaddish that is the minhag of Klal Yisrael to say Levaya at the end of the Masechta of a life. And it's irrelevant, we wouldn't question why does Masechtas Horius only have 11 daf, and why there are Masechtas that are larger. That is the Masechta. Before you open the Masechta, you know it's going to be that amount of daf, and when you complete it, you know you finished an entire Masechta that has meant to have been that Masechta. And Chazal HaKadoshim, by instituting the same Kaddish at the end, at a Siyum HaMasechta, is the same Kaddish at the Siyum of the Masechta of a person's life, which was predestined before they entered this world, and the amount of time they were meant to spend in this world, and that is the Masechta of their life. And where the Rewatch to show us greater opportunities for Devekus earlier on in our life, then the later ones, which are not as great, would seem insignificant. And tzaddikim who are in this world have a time when their mission, when their Masechta is meant to end. And at that point, when they're coming close to the end of their mission, the end of their Masechta, Chazal tell us that they access the ability to feel and to really enjoy the dveikus of being close to the Orya of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And like everything, the four substances from which everything in the Bria is made, each one wants to go to its shoresh. Water and earth, by the force of gravity, always want to go downwards. But Ruach and Eish always want to ascend. V'ner Elokim nishmas Adam, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shechina is ka'eish Recheles. And that moshel is in the physical world. If we were to put a candle next to a large fire, we would actually see, say Chazal, that the light of the candle jumps towards the fire. It wants to be mistabit b'shoyrosha. And when tzaddikim are able to access these tremendous moments of kedusha, there's one thing that they want to do, and that is to be dovuk to that oil and to remain dovuk to that oil. We don't know Darkei Hashem. We don't profess to understand them. We're in Golus. We live in a Hest upon him. But the Ribbono Shel Olam is with us in the Golus. And we know that within the Choshech there are little bits of lightning of oil. And sometimes when we are able to look at things from a different perspective, as Rashi in the end of Parshas Bereshis tells us, that creates a nechama. That helps us to perhaps see things in a slightly different way. And when we now see from Chazal that the neshamas of tzaddikim are able to have the opportunity to ask the Rewatch to be dovuk to that oil, and when they ask for it and they pine for it, the Rewatch cannot refuse it, as difficult as it may be, kaviyachol, that they leave this world and the impact that they're making whilst they're here, but they want to be dovuk. And when a neshama comes to that point, a neshama tahira, a neshama that's had a zikuch throughout its time in this world, a zikuch that's made it so pure that the guf is no longer a barrier between it and the Ribbono Shel Olam, then that time of Rava Deravin on Shvi Shal Pesach and Shabbos Kodesh is a raya for the Or Hashem Chayim, the Uriah Chayim. In our parsha, Aaron HaKohen, after the loss of his two children, was given words of Tanchumin and a hesped for his two children by his brother Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Pasuk tells us that after hearing that hesped, Vayidoim Aaron went silent. And he decided not to say anything at all. When we look at Rashi and we see how Moshe Rabbeinu praised the children of Aaron HaKohen, he said that they're greater than us, B'krovai HaKodesh. And we know who Moshe and Aaron were. And we know the Anibus of Moshe, and we know the Dveikus and the Ava of Aaron HaKohen. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, these children are greater than us. Yet Aaron HaKohen remained silent. Why did he choose to do that? There's many different explanations given. Rabbi Yoel Baruch Finkel, Zeichet Tzadik Levracha, suggested an explanation. He said Aaron HaKohen thought to himself, if I extol my children, or I talk about their milas, or in any way I talk about Darkei Hashem, then it may look that I'm coming to answer questions. And as a ma'amin, I don't have a question. I'm a ma'amin in the hashgacha pratis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not going to ask why them. I'm not going to ask why on this day. I'm not going to ask why in that way. But they too entered into a place of kedusha, into the greatest place of kedusha, into a place where there is the greatest hishtokukus for a nefesh and a neshama of a person to be dovuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and with that, harcha nishmasam. Yet he decided to remain Be'emunah shlema muchletes in the Borei Olam, who I know is with us, who I know is with them, and I decided, therefore, I'm not saying anything because I don't want it to ever look to anyone else like I have questions that I need to answer. That you, Rafi and Jess, chose not to speak publicly at the Levaya from a complete emunah tahira and emunah shalema, as we discussed beforehand. And that decision was made with a starkheit, with a knowledge of what that meant, as we discussed, that it would be in the public eye, yet you wanted to show that you are ma'aminim, b'nei ma'aminim, with an emunah tahira in the Ribbono Shel Olam, and we have no questions. In fact, in your own words, you exclaimed, we saw that this was his time. And we understand from what you're saying, and we understand from between the words that you are articulating, that you are makabel, the Ribbono Shel Olam, as the Manik HaOlam, as the Borei HaOlam, and as the one who is going to give you strength, as he has done and will continue to persevere, to continue to shine that light of Emunah Tahira to all of Klal Yisrael. We're going to say tomorrow night in Vaboiker Chastecha ve'emunoscha ba'leilos. David HaMelech, who himself went through a turbulent life within which he lost a son, exclaimed in front of the Ribbono Shel Olam, Lahagid Vaboiker Chastecha. There are times when in the morning I will exclaim and talk about and extol your chesed. Ve'emunoscha ba'leilos, and your emunah at night. What was he referring to by the day and the night? And some of the Mefarshim explain that the day and the night is not just referring to the physical day and night, but it's a mashal as well for the times where the sun shines metaphorically in our lives and things are all what we would see as good and fine. And at that point, a person is mechuyev lahagid ba'boiker chastecha. We talk about the chasodim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the boiker when things are going good. We don't take it for granted. We appreciate it and we talk about it and we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we publicize our thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there are times when it's Laila. There are times when it's dark. It's difficult to see the Ribbono Shel Olam. It's times when there are challenges. It's times when it's really difficult to see the Ribbono Shel Olam. It's times which are painful. And we cleave to emunah in the Ribbono Shel Olam. Yet the tzaddikim ask, if that's the case, it shouldn't say ve'emunoscha, your emunah, the Ribbono Shel Olam. It should be ve'emunah seinu ba'leilos. We exclaim our emunah when things look dark. What do we mean by the Ribbono Shel Olam's emunah? Ve'emunoscha ba'leilos. And the tzaddikim explain that David HaMelech came to a realization and an understanding that when the Ribbono Shel Olam puts a yid into a nisoyim, into a time of cheshchas laila, into a time of difficulty or a time of pain, it's the Ribbono Shel Olam saying to him and to her, I have emunah in you. I have emunah in that you are going to carry my banner of emunah. I have emunah in you that you're going to continue to sing the Shira of life. You're going to continue to be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. You're going to continue to keep my Torah. You're going to continue to daven my tefillas. And you're going to continue to be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim, not just in yourselves, but for everyone around you. Lahagid ba'boiker chastecha. Ve'emunoscha, when it's baleilos, when it's difficult, when it's hard, you know what I know, Ribbono Shel Olam? That you have emunah in me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose you as a family because he has emunah in you. That even if we don't have an explanation, we can't be masbir. And it's painful. And it's difficult. But you're going to really hold high the banner of emunah for all of Klal Yisrael, like only you can do. In this past summer, we all collaborated together to daven for Orya. And we saw what the power of tefillah can do. And we must not forget that. That which many of us either have articulated or in our minds we may be thinking that there's myriads of tefillahs that in the past few weeks we davened and we're wondering where they've gone. We don't know where they've gone. We're not Nevi'im, we're not B'nai Nevi'im. But we do have some pointers in Chazal. If anyone hasn't heard the courageous message of timeless emunah that belongs to generations way, way prior to us, that you put out on Motzi Yom Tov, then they should listen to it. And they should listen to it again and again. And understand those words of emunah that you spoke, that were yotzim min haleiv and nichnas el haleiv, that were mechazek every single one of us in a as great a way and even greater way than you have been mechazek us all these past months and years. And within those sentences, you exclaimed a thanks, unbelievably. It's the selfless ability to express your thanks to Klal Yisrael for davening, and the words of emunah that those tefillahs afforded us the time where al pi derech hateva we were told that this was all over a long time ago. Yet your tefillahs afforded us, and they didn't just afford that Ori was able to live to the year that he did, to the day that he did. They didn't just afford that through that you would have nachas from him, but through that you brought the kiddushim shomayim to the world, the netzach netzochim, which is yours and his forever. In the second bracha of Shemona Esrei, we say the words Mechalkel Chayim b'Chesed, Mechaye Meisim b'Rachamim Rabim, Soymech Noiflim v'Roifei Cholim u'Matir Asurim u'Mekayim Emunos Elisheni Ofer. And the question could be asked that there seems to be a bit of a jumble, and maybe it's not in the correct order. We should start off by saying Mechalkel Chayim b'Chesed, the Ribbono Shel Olam sustains those who are living with Chesed, and then we should talk about the living, and we should say Soymech Noiflim v'Roifei Cholim u'Matir Asurim u'Mekayim Emunos, and then Mechaye Meisim b'Rachamim Rabim u'Mekayim Emunos Elisheni Ofer. Why do we start by saying Mechalkel Chayim b'Chesed, seeming to now be finished talking about those that are living, and then we move on to Mechaye Meisim b'Rachamim Rabim, and then back to Soymech Noiflim? And years ago, at the shiva of one of my cousins, I heard a pshat that when Yitzchak Avinu composed this bracha, as is mentioned in Pirkei de Reb Eliezer, his kavanah within this bracha was Mechalkel Chayim b'Chesed, and that's what he had to say about those that are Mechalkel Chayim b'Chesed. But after he had experienced his own Tchias HaMeisim and wanted to infuse within us the emunah in Hash'aras HaNefesh and in Tchias HaMeisim, he then continued to say Mechaye Meisim b'Rachamim Rabim, and the subsequent tefillahs are for those that have left this world. If they left this world and they were noiflim, they should come back somuch. If they left this world and they were cholim, they should come back b'refuah. And if they left this world and they were asurim, they should come back b'hatorah. And those tefillahs are tefillahs that we know are niskabel in shomayim and will be answered, as we know that at Tchias HaMeisim everyone returns b'chaye chiyuso. Ari ascends to shomayim with all these tefillahs, with all the maasim tovim, and he goes right directly in front of the Kisei HaKavod. There's times during every single day when the Ribbono Shel Olam, in the words of Chazal, I suppose the title should be, the Ribbono Shel Olam verbrengt with the neshamas tahoros of Yaldei Yisrael. And he will ascend with all these tefillahs. And every single day, because every tefillah is a tefillah of Netzach, he will bring them in front of the Ribbono Shel Olam. And he will bring those Maasim Tovim. And he will bring those feelings of emunah. And those emotions of kirba and shukah to be closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we know from Chazal, we know from Tanakh, we know from a portion of more recent times, there isn't a tefillah that is not given recognition. How that happens, as I said before, we're not Nevi'im. But we know that these tefillahs have relevance. And every tefillah is multifaceted. And every tefillah is there, the Netzach Netzach. I want to finish off with one topic. The topic of our children. Who are our children? Maybe we need to begin and ask, who are we? Ma'anu, mechayim. A yid is a combination of a guf, a nefesh, and a neshama. The guf is the facade that we all see. The nefesh is the combination of the human mind, the intellect, and the emotions, which are unique, and a unique synthesis of how they work together in every single one of us. Perhaps the highest part of the guf where it connects with the nefesh are the 5 senses that we have, which are not tangible, but they live on, and they are b'chaye chiyusam even after the petir. The guf goes to rest and sleep until chiyas hamesim. The nefesh, the ability to see, to hear, that goes leginzei meroimim, together with the nefesh, with the mind, the intellect, the emotions, and of course together with the ruach and the neshama. And they all live on. And as part of our emunah in the Ribbono Shel Olam is our emunah in ourselves that we are a chelek elokah mimal. We possess a neshama and a nefesh, which is intrinsically part of why we are called b'nei keil choy. Vayipach ba'apov nishmas chayim. The midilei nofach. The Ribbono Shel Olam blew into every single one of us and blows into every single one of us every day. The breath of life is our neshama tahira, which is a chelek elokah mimal. And together with our guf, we work to achieve kiras elokim. Every single one of us has a unique makeup and synthesis of this neshama, ruach, nefesh, with our guf. That every single one of us, him or her, with our kochas nefesh and our kochas guf, which are unique to every single one of us, to fulfill the tafkid that only we can achieve. That no one since Adam HaRishon until the last person to walk the face of this earth will be able to achieve other than us. That's the unique tafkid that every single one of us has. Chazal tell us there are 3 shutfim in every human being: the father, the mother, and the Ribbono Shel Olam. Our children are children of the Ribbono Shel Olam, and he has given us the opportunity to be shutfim together with him, legadlom, lechanchom, ulechakmom, to bring them to where they need to get to. What is chinuch? Chinuch does not mean training. If it meant that, then we wouldn't talk about the chinuch of a mizbeach, of an inanimate object. Chinuch is recognizing the kedusha potential that lies within whatever it is that we're looking at. And when we're looking at our children, we look into them to see the kedusha potential that lies within every single one of them, and we are ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, that we are in olam hazeh as a vehicle to get towards our olam haba. This is a chayi shah, a proizdo to get to chayi olam haba. That's what we are here for. That's what we want to achieve, and we are striving and wanting to be able to get to chayi olam haba, which is either in Gan Eden or together with Mashiach Tzidkenu. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah tells us that when Amram and Yocheved decided to stop having children after the Gezeras Paroi, their daughter Miriam came to them. And Rashi brings the first part of the Gemara, where she said to Paroi, she said to Amram, Gezeroscho Gedoylom Mishalohem. So your Gezeras than Paroi. Paroi lo gozar el al azchorim, ato gozer al azchorim ba'ala nakevos. By not having children, and because Amram was the god of Ador and people followed him, and they all stopped having children, that means that there's not going to be not boys and not girls in Klal Yisrael. And then she added a sentence: Sheparoi lo gozar elo ba'olam hazeh, va'ato gozer ba'olam hazeh u'ba'olam haba. What was Miriam? And because of that, Amram and Yocheved got back together, and Moshe Rabbeinu was born. Moshe Rabbeinu, who was born with the Oyer of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who brought the Oyer of Torah into this world, who's given us everything that we can understand about our lives and about our mission in this world, came from that inspiration of Miriam. That because our mission is to facilitate that our children should be able to fulfill their Kedusha potential and achieve their Olam Haba and their Gan Eden. They're not a vehicle for us to get our nachas. That will come. They're not there that we should, through them, massage our egos. And they're not there to be the pride that we think we need to get. They have a mission which is unique to them, with their koichas hanefesh, their personality, their character, and that may be very different to ours. But we have to look into the hearts of our children. We need to look into the innermost parts of our children and see their neshama tahira. And if we want a little indication, the Ribbono Shel Olam gives us that by giving us insight when he gives us that shtickle nevuah to call them their name. And find out what is the Kedusha potential that lies in our children. And create an environment that will facilitate their ability to be able to reach and fulfill their unique tafkid. That their Kedusha should emerge. And that their Kedusha potential should come to its fruition and they can achieve their Olam Haba. Ari's Patira it's a great Nisayan. It's a painful Nisayan. But there's only Yechidim in Klal Yisrael that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has emunah in, that he would trust with the mission of looking after a neshama that has only a short journey to make in this world to fulfill its Kedusha potential. There's only a few people that the Ribbono Shel Olam would have emunah in, who would be able to see that emunah potential right from that Kedusha potential right from the start. From the moment the child is born, toying over which type of name to give that neshama, realizing its Kedusha potential. And he's done that in front of us by choosing you as a family, because the Ribbono Shel Olam had the emunah in you that you would recognize Ori's Kedusha that was closeted inside his neshama, his pure neshama. And that you would be able to give the environment and create the stage on which that would be able to come to its fruition and be able to reach its completed tafkid. Ruthie, Jess, Tehila, Benny, and Yana, you've proved to us why the Ribbono Shel Olam has emunah in you. And you've inspired us. And we have emunah in you that you will keep inspiring us and you will continue Ori's legacy. Of emunah, of tefillah, of Avas Hashem and Avas Yisrael, of Estus, Muchletes, and of unwavering bitochen in HaKadosh Baruch Hu every millisecond of your lives. And we daven to the Ribbono Shel Olam that we should be able to emulate you. We say with words of Emunah Tahira with such more clarity today. Hanashama loch, v'haguf pa'aloch, chusa ala malach. Ribbono Shel Olam, we realize that we are a neshama together with our guf, and together with those two we want to achieve what we can. So chusa ala malach. That's why lemancha aseh v'lo ilonu. We ask the Ribbono Shel Olam that there's going to come a time where we are going to be infused with a mei das, as Yeshayahu Hanavi tells us, which means the Ribbono Shel Olam is going to pour a mayim of das into the minds of every single one of us, where we will understand the tapestry of history and see the beautiful tapestry of history. At the moment, we don't yet see it. We believe in it. We know it's being woven. But we're waiting for Sha'avtem Mayim B'Sasoin Min Ma'ayinei HaYeshua. We ask you, the Ribbono Shel Olam, Toimar L'Tzoroseinu Dai, Toimar L'Galuseinu Dai, V'Sovi Es Eliyahu Hanavi. V'Af Al Pi She'Yisma Mea, Im Kol Zeh Achake Loi B'Chol Yom She'Yovoi, Ani Ma'amin Be'emunah Shelema. The Ribbono Shel Olam should give you koyach through this challenging time. The Ribbono Shel Olam should give you koyach to continue inspiring us, leading us in this most unbelievable mission of bringing more kedusha into the world, more appreciation for everything that the Ribbono Shel Olam does, and to appreciate that we are a neshama and a nefesh that is eternal, that lives forever, and that the Ribbono Shel Olam should